Millions of young people around the world will tell you that a foreign animation completely changed their lives. It's a fascinating observation, especially when you look at the sheer scale of it. It sets up a genuine psychological mystery. How do ink, paint, and pixels manage to weave themselves into the very fabric of human identity?
It's a really surprising question when you stop and think about it. I mean, why does a fictional character feel like a real part of who you are? How can a cartoon from another country in another language about people who don't look anything like you feel more deeply personal than reality? How does fiction bypass our defenses and actually become a part of our real self?
Well, the core answer lies in a subtle shift in perspective. Anime doesn't tell you who you are. It gives identity something to attach to. Think of it like a beautifully woven fabric. At first glance, you just see the bright colors and the surface pattern. But the real power is in how the threads are woven together. A character's struggle, a moment of quiet loss, maybe a delayed dream. These are the threads. The story provides them so that the emotions we already hold inside us have something to latch onto.
But to really understand this attachment, we first have to strip away a pretty common misconception about identity. Identity is a pattern built over time through repeated answers to deep questions about self, values, and belonging. It isn't a solid, hidden object sitting deep inside you just waiting to be found. Instead, it's a continuous, active process of pattern making.
Basically, identity is built like a room being slowly furnished. One chair doesn't make the room. One table doesn't make the room. But as you keep adding small, repeated meanings, experiences, choices, and yes, stories, the mind eventually takes on a recognizable shape. These small additions accumulate until, finally, you look around and feel, this is the kind of person I am.
As this pattern takes shape, our brains are constantly working in the background. Whenever we encounter someone new, we automatically ask a quiet internal question. Am I like this person or unlike them? We do this endlessly. We are constantly comparing ourselves to the world to figure out our own outline.
In this constant search for shape, characters act as our measuring sticks. Just as a tailor checks a piece of clothing against a body to see if it fits, we hold ourselves up against a fictional life. We watch a character and realize, I'm more emotional than them, or I really want to be as loyal as they are. They become the scale by which we measure our own flaws, our loyalty, and our growth.
But internal measurement just isn't enough. Identity requires an external anchor. It requires belonging. Belonging is the vital social support that turns a fragile identity into a stable identity. Think of it like a circle of chairs around a table. You might know a lot of facts about yourself, but until you feel invited to sit in one of those chairs, those facts don't permanently settle. Belonging gives identity its warmth.
We also need a space for imagination. Exploring a possible self is a lot like trying on clothes in a mirror. Stories give youth a completely safe rehearsal space. They can try on courage, rebellion, or maybe a quiet softness in the mirror of the screen to see how it fits, long before they ever have to bring those qualities out into the real world. It really begs the question, what would happen if you had never seen that character? Would you still have found that part of yourself?
Knowing these building blocks brings us to a central intersection. How does a story actually get inside the self? What is the exact psychological machinery that allows an animation to bypass our defenses and infiltrate the mind so deeply?
The answer is that characters function as emotional equipment. They provide a vivid shape and language for feelings a viewer already has but cannot yet name. So which came first, the feeling or the story that named it? A young person might feel they are broken or lazy, but then they watch a character struggling and a realization dawns. Oh, actually, I'm not lazy. I'm just overwhelmed. Or I'm not broken. I'm just lonely. The character becomes a vital tool unlocking the emotional vocabulary to understand themselves. Through this process, abstract values are transformed into lived, embodied examples. When a story shows a character hiding their vulnerability, the viewer absorbs the idea that strength means restraint. When a character trains through intense physical pain, effort suddenly feels honorable. And when a character is accepted despite their differences, the viewer learns that being different is survivable. The story uses the sheer weight of emotion to mark the viewer, ensuring the psychological lesson permanently sticks.
But the story itself is really only half the equation. The rest happens after the screen goes dark. Let's zoom out to the real world. Take a student like Sadia in Pakistan. She watches an episode, feels a profound emotional shift, and then logs online. She connects with people across the globe and realizes her inner emotional life isn't invisible, it is shared. This is the community effect, the moment when a private feeling hardens into a shared, undeniable reality.
If we trace this entire journey, a very clear flow emerges. Step 1, the story presents a pattern. Step 2, emotion makes it stick. Step 3, repetition makes it familiar. Step 4, community makes it shared. And finally, Step 5, the self borrows and tests it. Think of it like a network of water channels. The animation builds the channels, guiding the flow of the water, but the viewer's identity is the landscape itself. The story doesn't force the water, it simply shapes where it can go.
Once you understand this machinery, a subtle but profound shift happens. You transition from a passive viewer to a self-aware fan. A passive viewer blindly absorbs the meaning and the aesthetic, but a self-aware fan, they feel the profound emotional impact, absolutely. But they also clearly see the psychological mechanism at work. They recognize that the show does not replace their identity. It simply offers material that their self can absorb, resist, reinterpret, or use.
The influence is undeniably real, but it is deeply relational. And once you see how it works, you can literally never watch a story the same way again. So, as you reflect on the media you consume, I want to leave you with this. Is your favorite character a mirror, a measuring stick, or a possible self? Think about the stories that built your own identity.